it was worth coming. Yeah, I'll tell you more about where I work after this when I start the presentation. And the answer to the question that I asked, what tools improve my workflow, is Scrubbox.io. I know some people wrote about Trello. For me, it's easier to put my task there and to put all my all my things that I want to know about. For example, I can show you. This, let's say, page where I have all the things that I want to know about, like things that were interesting for me. Like for example, stuff to do with MongoDB, with SQL, and anything else. Like I like the fact that it's just cards and you can easily just put data in here. I actually use it as task manager, like I do to-dos here. I don't use Trello. I'm just lazier, so I just use this. Okay, who's next?
I'm Karen, and I've been in Japan 22 years, and I do mostly PHP, but well, full stack because it's just me, so I have to do all the front end stuff too, which is not really my strength. I didn't notice the question, but I can answer it. It's interesting, that thing you mentioned, it looked a lot like how I use Google Keep. Same idea, it's just cards and you just put lists and stuff of whatever you want, but either way. But I would say for me, PHP Storm has improved my workflow. It's the only ID I've ever used before that. I just an editor and just grab files and stuff, but it's helped a lot because I can connect to things in a lot of different ways. I'm still scratching the surface, there's a lot there. Next.
Hi, my name is Toshi. Well, I'm a PHP web developer, and I'm not sure. I think that's the reason I'm here to find out. I think I need a Akuma update. And that's it. I've been working on a PHP project, but my skill is like kind of old, sort of being old. So I want to get out my update. Yeah, that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Saika. I am a content web developer in Japan, and I'm interested in web design and UX design now, but I don't have a teacher, so I learn a lot about it. I'm using Vue.js in the project, so I'm learning JavaScript frameworks as well. I wrote about Fish and Go. It's it makes your terminal cute and useful.
Colorful.
Yeah, colorful. Yes. You can see your Ruby versions if you put on Ruby, and you can put on translations. And oh, it's so good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ken. I also help Victor to co-organize and also Martin to co-organize this meetup. Thank you very much for coming. I'm actually an academic, but working on web development too, mainly doing image database and things like that. I put up something about Trello that I currently trying to use. Sort of okay, not very buy into it that yet. But yeah, so one of partly because some of the collaborators in the UK side, the Europe side, is actually using it quite seems to be quite efficiently. as a big team. So I'm trying to learn how to use it. I mainly use Python, JavaScript, and other backend stuff as well. And hope to hear more from you guys. Thank you.
Oh,
Pardon?
go here and then.
You?
Then we-
Yeah, you. Oh, okay. You. どうぞ。自分紹介。
自己紹介と、好きなトール
I didn't write to my favorite.
No problem.
That's okay.
Hello, I'm Senna Abe. I'm a web designer in Osaka, but I changed my job next month. I will go to Tokyo.
Oh.
Maybe it's the good time.
Hello, I'm Osaka. I'm a UX designer. Weekday, I'm working in Japanese IT company, and weekends, I have my own startup. And my favorite tool is Facebook Workplace. I love it. And I like Trello too, but I prefer Workplace.
Okay.
And also, I'm not good at task management, so I have also a online mother. So like
What's that?
I work with Timothy Anderson. He's in Tokyo. We do startup together. So, but I'm not good at task management. So I asked him to be an online mother. So he always tell me, okay, your deadline is 2 days later. Something. Or he pushed me. So something like that.
Hello everyone, I'm Kuchika and I'm from Mongolia. So it's been more than 10 years in Japan actually. And I am actually a student at university and my research were in high performance computing. And I do a part-time job as a web developer. And recently I'm trying to move my company's website into WordPress, and it's been very complicated. And well, what I wrote this isn't here, so but
Maybe I saw you too late. Yeah, I did.
it's not important. Recently, actually, I'm trying. I'm starting to use Java actually, writing a lambda function in AWS. And I just started studying Java. So there was a Google Juice. That's that was I really couldn't understand it well actually, but it was really nice thing. It's about the dependency injection. It's for testing, making testing and connecting classes together easier. And I'm still studying, so I couldn't grab the entire figure yet now. So it's been I've been several times here. That's very good. So nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, James is going to present himself very soon. Yeah.
I would say the tool that implement the most recently is probably source tree.
Okay.
So I do command line Git for all this time, and if I'm getting crazy about things with the Git command line, so I'm using source tree more often.
I'm Mike, been in Japan for a little over a year now. I do a switch between doing Windows application development with C#, using lots of MS SQL, and mostly web front-end development in React, Surface, and WordPress. So I have to deal with WordPress a lot. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And if the client needs something else, I'll work with that, but that's usually what I do. So a tool that improved my workflow recently was moving to using WebStorm, just another IDE by IntelliJ, which they make a lot of great entities. Use them. But yeah, it's just got a lot of nice features built in. You can do Git, in the IDE, so you don't have to mess with command lines for that if you're not comfortable with it. Nice autocomplete for like your JavaScript classes. Like you're bringing in your dependencies. It's a nice IDE. Like if you're someone who uses IDEs. Would be it for me.
Andrew?
Hi, my name's Andrew.
Yeah.
So, and what tool has improved your workflow?
Okay, cool. Oh, okay. Okay. I put Google Keep. I don't know. I just like to jot stuff down. Sometimes someone says something new or something I haven't heard, and I've been fiddling with a lot of different things like Google Docs and different note applications. This looks just the easiest one. I just put it there and slap it, and I don't have to worry about it. Just put a tag, you put a hashtag, and give it a label, and then you just search it. It all comes up, and then you can archive something. And even if you've archived it, you can still search it, and then you just have to checklists and stuff. It's really simple. It's just made things a lot easier to do.
Hello everyone, I am OWDDM, that will be hard to pronounce, so you guys can call me Obi if you have to. So I'm primarily from Nepal, and it's been around 2 months I've been to Japan. So I primarily develop the web with Java. So I use Java EE sometimes, or the Spring framework. Other than that, I kind of play with everything I have to, so it's like jack of everything. Sometimes I do with WordPress, I work with Angular, and then I do some Python sometimes. That's all about it, but primarily I work with the Spring framework. Regarding the tools, I tried a lot of tools, but I'm stuck to Evernote and Google Keep for now. So they help quite a lot. And regarding the ID, yeah, Intellize it. It's like it's very strong and very strong. Kind of helps. That's about it.
Hello everyone, my name is Sazen and I work with Gabriel in the same company and I work as a Java developer too. So we share a lot of like tools while working. So that's like Trello, we use Trello and we use Google Keep and other stuff too. So and Internet is a great platform to work on. So that's it.
And the last one we have Inora-san.
My name is Siwa Inara. I'm a web developer. Recently, I'm running Beam. I like very much. Thank you.
Yeah, he works here at Amy, and we need to thank him for coming here on Sunday. Okay, thank you all for coming. Maybe some other people will join us later. Let's start the designers and developers meetup, and we'll start with James. It's a long time since we had a CSS presentation, and he's actually had many interesting ones here. He's actually a friend of the meetup. So, okay, without further introduction, here you go. I leave the door open.
want to turn the lights a bit.
Some of you know me. I'm a front-end development. Pretty much HTML, CSS, JavaScript, mostly Vue and React. Currently, I'm building something really awesome in Vue, but I can't see it, but I'm building it. If you want to see the slideshow, you can actually go to this website address and see this exact same thing. So, are you ready to learn about CSS?
Yes.
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 Yes. Exciting stuff like grid and flex and all that stuff.
View. Yes. Yes.
Used to grid, but it looks awesome.
Yes, grid flex. Well, too bad. I'm not learning that tonight. We are going to learn CSS basics. Very basic
Okay.
stuff, like how to write CSS, cascade, inheritance, and box model. Because a lot of people don't really know how these things work. A lot of experienced CSS builders don't really know how it works too. And I'll be honest, I never really knew how to calculate specificity until I mean, I knew how it works. I never actually thought, why do I need to calculate it? I understand why, but it's not that. But let's move along to CSS basics. So, who does CSS on a daily basis? Everybody, right?
Daily,
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys should pretty know the basics of CSS. Then. So CSS means cascading style sheets. So it's a language for specifying how a document will be presented to the user. So that means the browser takes in a CSS file, goes to the CSS and looks at all the styles and applies it to the markup, and that's what we see. So this is all CSS, as you can see in the browser. So that's what CSS syntax. How you write CSS. It's not so hard. It's just pretty much you have a selector, which is an element, a class, ID, or attribute. Then next you put a declaration block, which is some curly brackets. Then you have a property. And as you can see, the slide says there are over 200 different CSS properties. And that's a lot. And you know what? You don't need to know all of them. There's a lot that you don't need to use, a lot that are unnecessary. And if the more you do CSS, the more projects you work on, the more you find that these are the ones I need to know and these are the ones I don't need to know. And there's nothing wrong with looking it up. So I mean, I can tell you right now off the top of my head, there is a CSS property that I know of. I don't know what it's for. I don't know how to use it. I see it all the time pop up in my dev tools. It's called widows. All I know it has to do with layout and print. Nothing to do with actual media or the screen layout, but it's widows. Something like actually the last line of a paragraph.
I have a feeling, I know, from print stuff, I know what it is.
Like the last line of a paragraph on a page.
Can't have a single line by itself.
Yeah.
One's an orphan, one's a widow, whether it's the beginning or the end.
Yeah. So there's orphan and widow CSS property.
So which one is orphan? Which one is widow?
Oh.
I think widow is the bottom, orphan's top.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too.
And so after a property, we add a value. And every property has a specific list of values. And as you can see, a cool thing about CSS is this line right here. It says, if a property is unknown or if a value is not valid for a given property, the declaration is ignored. So that's pretty cool. So if you get it wrong, CSS just ignores it. The browser ignores it, doesn't care. So you can, doesn't matter in that sense. But also it's hard to debug because sometimes you're typing CSS like, why is it not working? Why am I not getting this result I want? I can give you an example for me once. Once I was doing some margin stuff, I think I also got a margin, a top margin, or something. And the property is margin dash top. I kept writing it backwards for some reason. I don't know why. I just couldn't figure out why is this wrong. It's right, top margin. It's keep work. Why is it not working? And then I sat there and stared at it for a long time. Like, oh, it's backwards. So that's the thing. So I just ignored it, but it looked right to me, So let's move on to the next slide, which is an example of CSS. So we all know how CSS works, right? We all know how HTML looks, right? This is what your HTML tag would look like. This is a element, like we mentioned earlier. This is a ID. Here is a incorrect property. You cannot YOLO 100%. You know, YOLO is not a property available. So the browser just ignore that and just use the margin instead. There's more. So you can see here's a paragraph, including HTML comments. Oh, these are comments too. So you can have a comment with a full backslash.
That's a forward slash.
Forward slash. Okay, forward slash and asterisk. And this you just put your comments in there. It can be multi-line comments on this. And then this is a data attribute with the combinator where it's the sign right here, the greater than sign is a combinator where it combines your CSS rules, or it could have two of these and two classes, which is right here, class. And then this is like the first direct, well, not first, the no, it's a direct descendants. Direct descendants, span, doesn't really matter, there's nothing else there, but I think that another class attached to it. So that's pretty simple. How you write CSS, and it's we all kind of know, right? Since we mostly do it.
Aspect in the square brackets.
What?
That I've not seen before.
This is an attribute. It's a data attribute. Sometimes you have like data dash something equals something, or it's just a data attribute. So you can actually select by attributes.
I did not know.
Like an input name, right?
You input name or whatever you want. Just any attribute is there. Because in the way the browser, it's kind of off topic, the way browsers see it, the attribute is there, it's just like true or false. So, I think that's the hard way. Okay, so next is how do we add CSS to our document? Since we don't know how to write it, how do we put it there? There's 3 ways to attach it to our document. You can external style sheet, embedded styles, or inline styles. So let's see how that looks. So this is an external style sheet. We just have a block of our HTML document, the head. You don't know if the head is right? No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And so we just have a link over there, a link tag, and has a rel for relationship equals style sheet, and then pointing to our file that's outside of our document. So that's simply done. Next is the embedded styles. And so in our head, we just have a style block with our styles instead of having a link. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. And then the third way we can do it is inline styles. So now we just have some HTML and have some elements. You see a style tag in our element, a style attribute tag. So our attribute, and this has some CSS in there. And so this top H1 would be blue, this would be green, just like it says. That's pretty easy. Any questions so far? Adding CSS to the document?
Is that best practice when to use which style?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
No, it's not best practice, but it'll give you an understanding how these work together.
Yeah.
So, I guess we move this way. Side. So next, let's look at the cascade, because you can't have CSS without the C. So what is a cascade? Do you know what the cascade is? That's Karen. Anybody else?
Cascade.
No, someone else in the back. Anybody want to volunteer an answer?
Replaces the CSS below, like cascades to the previous one.
Yeah, kind of. Well, anyways, cascade. What is a cascade? As defined by the actual spec, the cascade takes an unordered list of declared values for a given property on a given element, sorts them by the declaration's precedence, and outputs a single cascaded value. Right? You understand, right?
No idea.
No? Okay,
That
well,
doesn't help.
what does it really mean? This means that it's just way the order of rows matter.
Okay.
So kind of like what he said, as you go, where it is in the place is what happens, this is more important than that kind of thing. But it's more complex than that. It was easy when we CSS, I guess. This is hard. Okay, so what determines the winner of this cascade battle? How do we determine, what is the cascade? What makes up the cascade? The cascade is made of 3 things. Importance. This is actually an order, the way the browser sees importance. The specificity of word and source order. Okay? Let's look at the importance. Not to be confused with important. This is something different. So although you know what important is, the important declaration, this is not it, it's something different. So how the importance algorithm works. So first of all, the browser filters all the elements from all the available sources that apply to the element. So this grabs everything for like a, say we have an H1, just grabs everything if it's H1 to style it. And then it'll sort the rows of importance and if the row is followed by important. See, different. Why is it different? Well, tense.
One's in courier.
that exclamation mark. So that's the thing. So let's kind of see how this works out in like how the order of importance is. So here's a little chart. So order of importance part 1. So we have our style sheets and their value. It's actually taken from the NDA documentation. So first we have our origin. So first is user agent. So what the user agent is?
No, speaking CSS.
User agent is your browser styles. That's built into your browser. And if we click this, we'll see a very good example of it. Let's take this website out. It's one of my favorite websites. Motherfucking website. This website has no styling whatsoever. It's just all browsing website. It's a good satire website. But I mean, if you look at it, look at the source code.
Brutalism.
In the source code, you can see there is no styles, inline styles. There's nothing in the head, no link styles. It's just all browser style. So you click on anything in here to inspect, and you'll see it's just all, these are your user agent styles. So this is what the browser does. Every browser has their own set of styles, which is kind of all these resets and normalize and stuff like that. But that's not what we're going to talk about. Okay, let's go back to order importance. So that's like the first thing that is read. The next thing that comes along is the user styles. You know what user styles are? Some browsers, not many anymore, used to allow you to add your own style sheet to affect the styles of any web page. You can still do some of that now, like maybe you can set the font size or like font size, colors, font styling, and like Chrome and stuff for like accessibility issues. And so you don't really come up that much anymore, but it's some browsers still do. I think Safari allows you to do it. Chrome does it. Firefox might. I think Opera does too. I'm not sure. And then next thing is the author styles, which is pretty much what we write. We write the author styles. That's what we do as developers. We write author styles. So our styles will override the user style or the user agent style. That's how it kind of goes. And then there's CSS animations. This bad boy don't cascade. It has its own weird thing. It does a certain way. And we're not going to talk about that because it's a little beyond what this is about. It has to do with like where it is in the place we're looking at animation. So let's look at important. Right? You mentioned important and important. Important and important difference. So adding this to like any rule just will whatever does all the water just makes it the definitive rule for definitive declaration for that rule. This overrides everything else. Pretty simple, right? Well, that's true. Those are the map, but so that just gets complex. But we have a whole chart about that too. So order importance with important. And you can see it's kind of reversed. You have the author styles first, user styles, and user agent styles. So user agent styles actually override the other ones. And I've actually seen user agent styles with important. If you look in you can go to the WebKit repository and look at the user agent style, and you can search it for important. You'll find some important in there. I think it had to do with some form styling stuff. You cannot.
That you can't override it.
But it's something like you wouldn't override anyway. So one of those things you wouldn't override is coming. And I think a lot of that also had like also that important had prefix of WebKit too. So something you didn't really touch. So let's go to the next slide. So here's our full chart with both important. So as you can see, this comes down user agent, user, author. Let's get that author. So that's just these just kind of override all of those regardless. And then self-explanatory, right? I need to go on more about it. No? Yes? Maybe.
It's all right.
Okay, next. So that's a simple importance. Like that's the very basic way to simplify that. I big chart it down to like a really simple way to look at it. So browser, behavior styles, overridden by user styles, overridden by author styles. That's overridden by important. That's it. That's all you need to remember. Just browser. Actually, I can't remember this. Browser, author, and important. You can use it. I usually won't come with that much, I think. So let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk about specificity, the hardest part of CSS. Who can calculate specificity?
Sometimes.
Just one person, really? Two people just one?
Sometimes, and sometimes not.
So what is specificity? It's a word I can't pronounce. Apparently. I swear I've been doing CSS for so many years. I cannot pronounce this word. I'm really bad at it. And it's how browsers decide which CSS properties are the most relevant to an element and therefore be applied. So when it's all tied up with the importance, it goes to specificity. See, I can't pronounce it. Specificity. Maybe that's quick to you say it. So that's how that is. And so when is specificity used? So you can watch me butcher this word for the next few minutes. So according to htmldog.com, if you have two or more conflicting CSS rules that point to the same element, there are some basic rules that a browser follows to determine which one is the most specific and therefore wins out. Easier than the CSS spec, right? Understand? I'm just saying that when you have rules that are the same, something will determine what's better and what one wins out in the battle of specificity. So let's go to the next slide and let's talk about how to calculate specificity. So only one person. So pretty much, you give every inline style a value of 1,000. So your style attribute, that's a value of 1,000. And then you give every ID selector a value of 100. And then you give every class or attribute or pseudo class selector a value of 10. Do you know what pseudo classes are? Everybody? Can you explain that? Pseudo class would be like like active, stuff like that, yeah. And then you give every element, each element or pseudo element. Pseudo elements like before, after,
Okay.
A selector a value of 1. And this is a slight note here and then you add them all up and you get a specificity value. And according to this little note at the bottom in small print, the universal selector, combinators, plus, greater than, tilde, and whatever, and the negation pseudo class of not have no effect on specificity. So any questions on how to calculate? You got it?
Sort of.
Everybody knows how to do it now?
No.
Oh, good. Quiz time. Oh, wait, sorry, not just quiz time. Next slide. Let's visualize it first to give the idea. So, basic chart, right? H1, it's an element, value of 1. Our YOLO class, it's a value of 10. Our YOLO ID, it's a value of 100. And our style attribute gets a value of 1,000. So we got it now, right?
Okay.
Now we can do the quiz. So there's an ID of button or BTN. What's the value?
100?
100? Are you sure?
No.
Yeah, 100.
Okay, 100. Right. Okay, so class of nav. What's our nav?
1,000.
10.
10.
10.
10.
Okay, what's our element div getting? 1. Okay, what's our ID and class getting?
110.
110.
110. Okay, what's this thing getting?
Wait.
Well, let's think about what do we have here. This is a element.
Element 1.
So it's getting 1. This is an element.
No.
This is the element. So this is a value of the element. So I'll take elements and value of the element. This gets 1. So what do we have?
Okay. 2.
This is a class, so that's a value of
10.
This is the same value of a class, the attribute.
Is a 1.
10.
No.
10.
Okay.
So 1
22.
plus 1 plus
22.
10, 22. You are correct. Yay! Okay, let's look at more realistic first.
Huh?
So what color
I
is
don't know.
and what is this going to be?
It's quite
What
cool.
color and what font weight? So take a moment to look at it. So you have our class, our outer
box.
container,
Yeah.
box,
Item.
our
List.
unordered list of the ID of item, our list with the class of item and highlight. That's our CSS. You can see box, li, color green.
Lance would say purple.
Okay, well let's just go through like what color we think it's gonna be. What color? Who thinks it's gonna be green? Anybody? Green? His hand? Green? No? Maybe red? Maybe? Who thinks red?
It's highlight.
It's highlight. There's a
Will it be
list.
Purple? Who thinks
Purple.
purple? Oh, very good. Okay. What font weight is gonna be? It's gonna be bold or normal?
Normal.
Well, let's find out the answer.
Oh no, it's red. No, it's
Okay, so we
red.
got the answer.
I don't know.
Okay, let's go to CodePen and find out the answer. Okay, here it is. It's purple and normal.
Yeah.
So, and here's the value. See, our box li has 11. Our li highlight is value 11. Our this item is value 12. That's why it wins out on the color.
The other one's 11, yeah, those ties, so the last one wins.
But this is normal. So why did this one win out?
It's last.
Precedence maybe.
Comes after. I love the right.
It has the same specificity as it's the last one.
Well, yeah, you're all correct because that's what our next slide is all about. Software. Okay, see right there, led into the next slide. So, if multiple competing subjects have the same importance and specificity, as we saw those three values of 11 had, the source order will determine the winner. So the last one comes in, and that's it. Easy. So source order is all about timing. The style that's applied to the element depends on where it is in CSS. That's called the author style. Right? So later styles or right later styles. So you can see this little block here. This one wins because it's later, right?
Yeah.
Easy to know, right? But more like sources order, if you ask me, because you know, there's so many sources on the web page. You have inline styles, embedded styles, external style sheets, styles from plugins and frameworks and CDNs, depending like you're using like a CMS like WordPress or something. You have styles injected from JavaScript. Then you have important. So let's kind of simplify how this works, the way you would override things. So first, if you have your external style sheets, it's from all over, depending where they're at, doesn't matter, just grabs it all together. And then to override those, you have your embedded styles. So embedded styles, remember that's in the head, that's in the document, it overrides external sheets. And then the inline styles override embedded and external, because inline has that massive specificity, so that's why it wins most of the time.
External, it doesn't matter what order those are linked in,
Yes,
right?
external matter the order, which is pretty much downloaded by the browser. So that can be tricky at times. Like maybe a good example in WordPress. We all love WordPress, right? So sometimes you have your style sheet loaded in there, and then some plugin will come along and load your style sheet after your plugin. That's it.
Annoying.
And then they'll just override all of the stuff you wrote. And then you have to like go in either important or all you know the specificity, you can override the specificity, or you just have to reorder your style sheet to come later. And then after inline, we have important. Yay. So, and for instance, as we said earlier, important overrides everything. This is also just talked about. So, no style sheets depend on the order they're downloaded. Any questions so far? We all got this.
Excuse me.
Yes.
The order they are downloaded is given by their place in the code or by the speed they are
Pretty
downloaded?
much. Well, I believe when you download CSS, it is a blocking download. It's not a sync, right? Anybody disagree with me?
Right.
That's, anybody want to disagree with that? Yeah, base specific. But pretty much it means that when it downloads the style sheet, the browser stops everything, downloads the style sheet, then goes on.
Oh, okay.
It's not a sync where it starts to download and comes back to it later. So that's how styles work. It makes sense if you think about it because you have to parse the styles. Next. Well, all the slides on this one, this for this topic. So now to the next topic, everyone's favorite, inheritance. So we know what inheritance is, right? You get money from some dead rich uncle or grandmother or something, and you get rich, right? Okay. It's a gift to descendants. And it is a gift to descendants in CSS too. So some property values applied to an element can be passed down to its descendants. Look, I got a quote at that too. I spent my time making code pen instead of actually doing this nice presentation. So here are our code pen, and we have, what do we have here? Oh, I can't see it. I kind of had the code. Oh well, doesn't matter. So you can see we have a paragraph and some items, a list. And so you can see here it says this will be inherited by everybody. So the color blue, the font size, and line height. So everything's blue. Except for this guy, for some reason. And then our UL has a letter spacing. So the UL here, all the line items will have a letter spacing. So this passes it down to line items from the UL. Let's scroll up on our CSS. And so item .2 is green. That's just override because of specificity. That's a higher value than the element. So since it's green, you can't just the list style. This is green, but the item 2 is not blue or anything else or green because we're actually resetting it to the user agent styles with this value of initial for each property. Initial. Well, that's sweet. And that just leads into the next slide. See? 2 ways to control inheritance. There's a reason why it says that weird title like that.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So control, these are the ways to control, because some properties have these values: initial, inherit, unset, revert. So what does that mean? Well, we saw what inherit does. It just passes along, same as the parent element. Then there is initial. So it will reset to the user agent styles, so the browser styles. But if there's no browser styles for that, it will just set it to pretty much what inherit is, so inherit from the parent. Then for unset, which resets to a natural value, or if there's no natural value, to inherit or initial. And revert will just reverse to the user style, not the user agent. User styles, it's available. So, and if not, back to the browser styles. And here's the thing about that 4.2 thing. Initial and unset are not supported by Internet Explorer. Shocker there, right? So we can see, well, we saw that already, right? All those things, how they worked. Well, wait, do I have another code for this? Maybe it's a different one. We should change this. Oh yeah, this is an example from the MDN documentation. So here it is. Our body's green, so everybody's green. Comes down to inheritance. The class 1A is this one right here. It inherits a green color, so it makes our link green. Because links are different elements from text, right? Class 2A is initial, so resets it to black, not blue. Not because black is like the basic browser colors of black. And then my class 3 unsets it, so it goes back to green. But we have no user agent style there. I mean, no user style, so we got the user agent style, which is not there. Oh, anyway, to go back to green. We can't confuse the language. Okay?
Well, excuse me.
Yes.
If the browser style is black, why the first link that doesn't have any style is blue?
That's the user agent styles. This is really reset goes back to like this. It's like it just goes back to black pretty much.
That the reset ignores even the user agent styles. It throws everything out.
Yeah. The default color.
Excuse me, when do you use this one? Because
When?
it's easier to just put
That's a good question. That's a very good question, and I think I have an example of that. You can see some of that happening. Yeah, in the box model example, you can see that. But I guess a quick example would be like maybe I'll show you. You'll see it. You'll see what I'll show you.
Can you just go back? Sorry.
Right here.
Yeah. Just scroll back up a bit.
Go back up
Yeah.
to here.
So class 1A inherited, class 2 initial, class 3. Okay.
Okay. I don't use this very much either, so because inherit doesn't work in IE. So let's go to the next. Okay, so we're done with inheritance pretty much. Any questions on inheritance? Just passing things down to your children only. Well, I guess passing down things that can be used by your children only. Like, if you put a margin on your outer container, your children elements won't take the margin. They'll take things like, so you have like, I guess like you can on there you can put like, like sort of like font styles or pick all the font inside and then it has passed down stuff like it really comes in handy when you do with to know how it works. So like M, you buy M's, the butt text. The next box model, everything is a box in CSS, right? All little boxes.
Container.
Everything just kind of boxes in your dev tools. You know how the box model works? Everybody? Somebody? Me?
Mostly.
So the box model, the standard box model, so everything's a box. Our box has 4 parts. It has a content area, padding, border, and a margin. That's it. So I made this nice little thing last night. This is what it looks like. So our box model. See, this is our content area. You can see really lightly there's content in there. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's up if you want to see it. And then here's our padding area outside of our content area. Then here's our border area and our margin area. This boxes, right? Back to slideshow. Any questions on this? You see this in your browser all the time. Like if you use the dev tools, it's like at the bottom of the CSS or top. I think in Firefox, its own tab. From usually at the bottom of your styles. And it just tells you, in the dev tools, it tell you what is the variable you want. Okay, next. So let's go down here. So the fun thing you have to deal with is collapsing margins. You know what collapsing margins are? You don't read that. So it says in CSS, the adjoining margins of 2 or more boxes, which might or might not be siblings, can combine to form a single margin. Margins that combine this way are said to collapse. And the resulting combined margin is called a collapsed margin. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's basically like if you have a margin, a box, another box, and the margins touch, one gets eaten.
Yes, it happens.
And so we'll go back to our little box model here after the code now. You can see some examples of this. Oh, so check it out. So here, see, remove this. Margin collapse of sibling. Oh, you want to see that? I comment that line out. So check this out. Refreshes. Maybe that's the wrong one. Oh, wrong one. Ah.
There aren't 2 elements there.
Oh, that's right. Because it's here.
There's only one.
It's here. So let me show you. Let's uncomment that out first. And so let's inspect this. So we inspect this. And so check this out. So that's a margin bottom of 75. Page 2, yeah?
Yeah.
And so our guy here has a margin of 50. But the actual value is, see, it's actually 75. So this guy got pulled up into it, I guess. It collapsed to 0, so margin 75. So if I actually comment that out, if I comment this out, it'll go back to 50. 50 is the winner for this one. And there's another one in here. padding. That's one thing. Move to see some. So here's another thing about it collapsing. So this is about the first thing we just looked at was for adjacent siblings, yeah. But it also applies to nested elements because you see this is all nested stuff. This is nothing but a bunch of nested divs making this box diagram. And so those same thing apply where if their margins are touching, they will collapse. So let's kind of move this up some. Grab it. Try again. Up. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we kind of see how it is right there, right? And so comment this out. It just collapsed. So everything is gone. So our margins collapse, except for this guy. You're wondering, why did this guy not collapse? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I'm gonna set the board.
Why our border not collapsed? No answers. Well, that's a div. I mean, it's all divs. There's no borders here.
It's not a real board.
It's not a real border. But let's just go further down. Border. There you go. Border area. Check it out. This border. One big solid black. That's a border, so it didn't collapse. So if you have padding or border, it won't collapse. But if you don't have any padding or border, it will collapse for child elements. Like if we just got rid of that line right there, it will collapse.
But border is only 1 pixel, so why?
It's just the way it is. Because it separates the margins. The border is a separator of the margins. And so it only works vertically. You see, you still have the horizontal. Values there. Margins. Okay. So pretty much, like I said, margin collapse when you have two vertical elements touch each other, one gets eaten, right? So I have a little example here. So since these are just 3 boxes on top of each other, just imagine 3 boxes. And so element A has a margin bottom of 50, so here, right? Element B has a margin of 25, so 25 top and bottom. So 25 collapses, and then it just becomes a margin of 50 between the two. Then our last box has a margin, negative margin. So what happens here, you can see a little thing here. So we add the 2 together with some negative margins, and it becomes 10. When you add a negative margin, something it's actually changing upwards. That's what actually happens. Everything gets moved up. Doesn't move anything else. Everything in and below just gets moved upwards. Any questions? And so here is the same thing, but with the child, the nested elements. So like I said, we have no padding or border, it will just collapse. So this one we have our title, our div, our paragraph, right? So our title has 0 margins. Our div has a top margin of 50, and our paragraph has a top margin of 20. So this will collapse to 0 because these are touching, and just give us a spacing of 50 between the title and the div. So the paragraph goes to the top of the containing box that it's in.
Isn't it margin top?
Ah!
Oh, nice.
That's a kind of error too. I didn't know. That usually kind of okay, so
that was actually a test for the
well,
audience.
actually, yeah. Well, that's more one of the thing. I'm thinking I could add a top margin here, a top margin there. I was typing what I'm thinking.
No, that's checking if we're asleep or not.
Because I'm not actually coding. Not really coding.
So an IDE will help you.
Yeah, that's why I have videos and stuff. So how do we unclaps our margins? Well, we can add a padding or border element, or even better, just we'll use margin bottom and like margin left or margin right to one way. Just space everything one way. Go down. Going margin bottom, just everything just goes down a nice vertical rhythm. You don't have to worry about things messing up your collapsing. And same thing for left and right. Well, that doesn't matter how spacing is there. And I believe that is it. Any questions?
And you use margin auto, and sometimes it
Margin
just
auto, yes, sometimes. You can margin auto.
kind of sort it out itself. Seems like.
One of the common ways to use margin auto, like say you have a container,
Yeah.
and you have another container in it, and your container inside is like, well, your auto container is like 100% wide. It's like,
Yeah,
right? Your inner container is like maybe, I don't know, give
2 or
a random
3,
number,
yeah.
a set width. You can add to your inner container by like margin 0 auto, that'll automatically center it horizontally. Or if using Flexbox, it'll just center it in the box.
Or if you haven't specified a width, it would normally be all the way
Yeah,
out, but it would collapse down if you did it.
Any other questions about any CSS? That's what this stuff.
Question is, if you have a external style sheet and you try to override certain elements, what's the best way of doing it? So you do it inline.
Okay, let's go back to this code pen here. This one has a very interesting thing here. So I could just, to get this padding 0 and the border 1 pix.
Yeah.
This is actually the same thing, right? Pretty much. Well, kind of. This is SAS. It's not CSS. Let's look at the actual CSS for this. So,
Yeah.
So let's
If you're not teaching in SAS.
So let's look at, where is that? So, what was that? Okay. So let's see. Margin area, border area. Okay, so here we go. Margin area. Border. Oh, which one was it? I've been getting the SAS all the time, so I'm gonna get it.
Go a bit further. Yeah, you got your content area, which you override, right?
Padding area. So, I'm going to SAS. So the SAS here is margin area. Okay, margin area, border area. Margin area, border area. Okay, I see. Margin area, border area, margin area. So margin area, border, okay, margin area, border area. So this is the one. Then just border area.
Okay.
Have a so I could have added the padding 0 to the border area, but it would also, I had another thing too. I added border there too. I commented out. So I could have added the padding, the border to this, but it still would collapse because of specificity.
Okay.
But because we did this,
Satellite deadline.
it has a higher specificity than this, so it applies.
This one use okay.
Because otherwise I put it here, I'd have to put important on it. So instead of using important, I went in this. We're gonna find a better way to do it.
Okay.
So I mean, you shouldn't litter your CSS with anything important. That'll just make it harder to deal with later in the future.
So go back in my original questions, like what's the best practice?
Well, try to use specificity if you can.
Okay.
I mean, you can just add an ID, that's gonna blow it out, you know. It depends, like what you're trying to override. Like if you're trying to override inline style, you have to import it back. There's nothing can beat that pretty much inline style.
Okay.
Overriding in your user style, in your author style, you're overriding an embedded style. Same thing, either specificity or important. But really, you just want to try to think about how to deal with specificity.
Well, I have this.
That's what makes CSS hard.
Yeah.
That's what this part right here. So, go on, Kevin, saying?
I have a website which I've got all the style sheets, but I want to create a certain page, insert a certain page for specific events or specific reason. Instead of messing around with the original, the whole website style sheet, I was thinking about maybe to import another style sheet to override the current one. But instead, I eventually did a inline one, so just override it. But what would be the best way of doing that in terms of embedded inline or external?
Well, if we do it externally, there's a couple ways you can do it. One, you can switch out the style sheets.
Yeah.
You do it on the fly with JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
Like that, or whatever, like PHP, whatever. Another way you can do it is blast it with important,
Okay.
Or you can actually kind of namespace your CSS. Where you take like a class or add ID to the top, to your root, and just add everything with that.
With the namespace, okay.
Yeah, just kind of namespace it. That works a lot. I could show you some examples of how I do that sometime. Any other questions? Oh, you had a question about the initial stuff, right? So here. So go down here. It's before business. Our text line, initial. I can't really see it here. Let's make it dark. Oh, define it.
Compile.
And compile CSS. Ooh, on the bottom. So make it darker so we can see it. Like 7. So if you look here, well, why we're doing this, so it's a text line is initial, which is just left side, left justified. So if I remove this, our text becomes centered. That's why you're using like initial. I mean, just write, text line center. I mean, it doesn't make much difference really. I mean, like, so it doesn't matter. There's other uses for it. I mean, it's just, I guess, a preference of how you want to do it. Oh, also, there's one more thing too. Another neat thing is, I didn't talk about this, but this is pretty neat. When it comes to this kind of thing, so that also answer your question. Maybe you have several things that can be reset on this. Like this is let's comment things out real fast. You can actually do this. All. You actually have this attribute of property of all. To reset anything that can reset. So now let's see it's right.
No, it's not.
It is. It's not centered anymore.
It is centered.
It's not centered. It's not text line center. It's not text line center.
Then why is Zul's attached to the writing performance?
What I'm talking about. Where?
The
It's
text.
centered.
Fourth line. Line number 4.
Watch the difference.
I see no difference.
Maybe there's something else. Maybe I'm just thinking when I'm thinking, not actually doing that. Just follow this show. If I can spell this show. Ta-da!
Oh, where'd it go?
It's here. Because we reset everything.
The text should be black.
Reset everything. Unless I reset from white, I believe. Doesn't matter. It's something I never used, and I just learned it. I don't really do that. And so I don't think I can think of examples where you can use it. And maybe I'll use it one day when I come across something. I got to reset a whole bunch of styles, but it's not that useful, I guess. Any other questions?
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.